more. I never let the mic magnetize me no more, but it's biting me, inviting me to rhyme. I can't hold it back. I'm looking for the line, taking off my coat, clearing my throat. The rhyme will be kicking in till I hit my last note. My mind remains to find all kind of ideas. Self-esteem makes it seem like a thought took years to build, but still say a rhyme after the next one. Prepared, never scared. I'll just.
Hi, can you please state your name?
Reagan Summer McCoy. My background is in the music industry, and I've worked with hip-hop artists and DJs for the last maybe 15 years. And a good friend of mine, Justo Faison, who started the Mixtape Awards, who passed away in a car accident 10 years ago, had started an award show to give DJs recognition for using mixtapes to break records. When he passed away, this was kind of my tribute to him, but also to the DJs that spent so much time, you know, breaking records.
Okay, my name is Charles Emery, and they know me as Tape Master, Analog King, Mixtape Librarian, basically anything concerning the cassette. Back in the days, we're talking like 30, 40 years ago, I was somewhat of a DJ rapper. When my mother was in the house on Saturdays, she, you know, our old school mentality is mom would get up early Saturday morning, go clean the house. So she had the music playing. So we go around listening to music, this, that, or whatever. And it just went on from years after that.
I remember really falling in love with music like when I was 8 years old. But it didn't take me long to realize that I couldn't play an instrument. I could barely play a radio, you know. But what I could do was make these little tapes. They were so difficult to make, or not difficult, but at least time consuming, because you had to make them in real time. You couldn't just put together a playlist and then hit burn and then the machine spits it out. You have to do it. And so it was all about the process, and it was all about taking that time and studying, like, okay, this song needs to go after this one. And now in between these songs, I'm gonna do a little, like, I'm gonna pretend like I'm a DJ or something, you know, and then pass them out to friends.
The Mixtape Museum, I didn't launch it until maybe 3 or 4 years ago, because I wasn't sure what direction I wanted to go into. I knew that I wanted to promote archival awareness in the DJ community, meaning encourage DJs to hold on to their catalogs. You know, all the tapes that they've put out, save them, or at least make a record of them so that they can go back and look at them. I always tell DJs, when you're dead, your mixtapes are still gonna be here. So it's nice to have your whole discography available to people, you know, after you're gone. I mean, it kind of tells a story about a DJ's life, like the work that they've done. So outside of that, the other thing that came up was looking at mixtapes as artifacts and actually studying them. So listening to the audio that was on the tape. Some of these tapes were recorded at live clubs. Later on, they kind of changed a little bit when clubs started shutting down and DJs started making mixtapes in their own studios. But the tapes that were done live, like the tapes that Brucey B did, the tapes that DJ Hollywood did, they were done at a live club. So you had the audience, you had, you know, if they were giving shout outs to people, the songs that were popular. To me, a mixtape is a record of time, place, and situation. It's recording that moment. So I started talking to a lot of, you know, historians, even people that were into anthropology and musicology and looking at it from an academic perspective. Talking to people that have mixtape memories. I remember like sitting in their room and making tapes or giving tapes to someone. I mean, I get a lot of breakup stories. You know, I gave her a cassette tape and basically broke up with her, or I fell in love with somebody, or I took this tape to camp. So there's a whole bunch of stuff.
The blog that I started that like 4 years ago. The reason why I started it because of a DJ named DJ Soul out of Brooklyn. And he was putting up old mixtapes from Harlem DJs and Bronx DJs. And they were just putting up the same links. Like now today's society, you have a download or you have this and that. You don't physically have a tape. So I said, let's just change the game up and let's just give them different mixtapes. Because you have people from Jefferson Projects, you have people from Wagner, you have DJs from all over, just right here based in this area of Harlem that they never left Harlem, but they tapes them went all the way around the world. I have over 3,000 mixtapes on the wall right now. So I took one summer and I just converted it, the whole summer. Just converted all the tapes to MP3. So I put up a blog before everybody else started doing it. I put up a blog where you can just do downloads on the mixtapes. So if you like the tape, you would have to contact me to let me know, whatever. So then after a while, DJs started getting in contact with me because they didn't have their tapes anymore. So after a while, I figured out, well, wow, damn, maybe I do got something good going.
The last 4 years, I've been working on a documentary about the cassette tape. It's just called Cassette. It's the story of this little piece of plastic, from 1963 when it was invented to now. It goes from the rise and the fall and sort of this weird resurgence that we see now, whether it's people just preserving, people going back to listen, people appreciating them and saying, hey, wait a second. Let's not throw that out. That's actually history. And then you see people nowadays even starting to make them again.
And don't think that, mixtapes started on the cassette. They started pre-cassette also, but it's just that the cassette was the first medium that was introduced to the public. Like it was sold in stores. So after the cassette, then you had the CD. And then after the CD, now you have this. iTunes, Spotify, Mixtape, SoundCloud, whatever.
Back then, CDs, if you went to a store, you usually bought a CD, it was a CD-R. It wasn't an original CD. So after 5-6 years, that CD is no more good. But the tape, as long as you keep it in the box, that tape can last you at least 15, 25 years.
I don't think that mixtapes as a concept to people, I don't think that value has gone away because I think people still like to be able to make their own playlist. When you go into a store and you have to buy an album the way it is, track 1 through 13, and it's in order, and that's how you have to listen to it, it's the record company dictating how you need to listen to it. When you can make a mixtape, even if it's on like your iPhone or whatever, you still have that power to create your own soundtrack, so to speak. It's almost like a freedom, So in that regard, I think that tapes are still valuable.
I think anything physical at this point, any piece of analog music, whether it's a record or a tape or like a reel-to-reel tape, only increasing in value as we move farther and farther away from that. In the digital world that we live in, everything's just given to us from nowhere, from the cloud, from the internet. It's nothing we can touch. We can't, thumb through the J cards. We can't read the lyrics. We can't make our own artwork. That's stuff these are artifacts that, in a lot of cases may even outlive us, and it's something that we can pass on to the next person and tell them about, the hip hop mixtape, tell them about Ron G, tell them about Brucey B or Kid Capri or Lou Ottens, or anybody whose story is on this piece of tape.
What's the best way to preserve tapes?
Keep them in the air-conditioned room and keep them in the containers. Keep them in the boxes. To me, that's the best way you can. If you have a tape deck, which is very rare someone have a tape deck today to play them, but if you have a good way of storing them and keeping them in so there's no dust or the tape don't get messed up or rewired or whatever, you good for good 10, 15, maybe 25 years. Most of my tapes that I have on the wall, those are tapes from the early 90s that I can still play today.
I feel like mixtapes are recognized almost too much in society. And what I mean by that is that word, that term mixtape, just gets thrown around like willy-nilly, you know? Like, talk is cheap. Like, now I feel like mixtapes are still as huge as they've ever been, you know? Dat Piff, like any number of online sources where you get these mixtapes, but I mean, do they even know what it means now? Because it's not on a tape, and a lot of times they're not even blending. So, you know, why are we still using the word? But it's kind of cool because we're paying homage, you know, to these cassettes. When Wiz Khalifa or Lil Wayne or whoever says like, hey, I just dropped a new mixtape, they're not saying like, hey, go buy my C90 on Canal Street. No, they're saying go download it, you know. But they're still referencing, you know, mixtape. They're talking about a cassette. Just like when we record something with our phone, you know, you say film it. There's no film involved, you know, but it's paying respect, you know, to where it started.
Now somebody get your hands in the air. Somebody get your hands in the air and let's go. Everybody free.
I said to be careful when you jumping on my saddle. Boy, you can't ride, try no bother goggle. Some man say them a ride about